Thrilled you can join us this morning. My name is Joshua Kelly, Education Manager with Junior Achievement of Southwest New England, a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and workforce readiness to young adults across Connecticut. Today, we partnered with the Middlesex Chamber of Commerce and Westbrook High School to welcome a couple of employees from the Lee Company, based in Westbrook, for our panel on advanced technologies. Manufacturing has a long tradition here in the state of Connecticut. Manufacturers in state account for 11.2% of the total output of Connecticut's economy, while employing almost 10% of the workforce. In 2019, there was an average of 161,000 manufacturing employees in the state that work for a diverse array of over 4,500 manufacturing enterprises, a number that continues to grow. A final note that might perk the ears of our listeners: the average annual compensation of manufacturing employees in Connecticut in 2018 was $98,150. Today's discussion will focus on the Lee Company's IMH division, a high-volume, automatized division that primarily services the automotive industry. Our panelists, Paul and Eric, will discuss career opportunities and pathways in their field, their backgrounds, the usage of robotics in service of the medical, aerospace, automotive, and other industries, and advice for high school students interested in pursuing futures in the industry. We know young adults are feeling greater uncertainty and anxiety about the future. We hope today's discussion is one stepping stone of many to help provide you all confidence in building your future economic success. To everyone listening in, please know that while we can't see you, you are still welcome and encouraged to engage the panel throughout. There's a Q&A and chat function available. Please ask any questions for the panelists here. We ask that you be mindful of the language used and the appropriateness of the questions. Educators, if you have a class or group of students with you, please write in the questions on their behalf. We will try to answer what we can in real time, but we'll also save time at the end for questions as well. Paul and Eric have said they welcome any kind of question, whether about the industry at large or more technical aspects of their work. Without further ado, let's get started. So thank you both for joining us this morning. Let's start with a nice simple question: who we are. When I say your name, please state your full name, your title, and tell us, what does that title mean? Tell us a bit about your roles and responsibility in daily work life. Paul, let's start with you, and I know you'll tell us a little bit about the Lee Company as well.
Sure. Well, good morning. My name is Paul Zemaneski. I am the Vice President here for the IMH group, and IMH is Industrial Microhydraulics. So we are one of 10 different divisions here at the Lee Company. I'm responsible for all of the operations for this group. Those responsibilities range from finance, personnel, engineering, production, quality, and I'll tell you a little bit about the Lee Company in general. The Lee Company was founded in 1948 by Leighton Lee II. We have over 1,000 employees, and here at IMH, we have about 150. This is family owned and operated. We're headquartered in Westbrook, which is down on the shoreline here. We have over 1 million square feet of manufacturing and office space, and we have about 14 buildings at 3 sites. And we are servicing over 4,000 customers worldwide. And the 3 different product divisions we have our precision microhydraulics group, which focuses on aerospace. We have electrofluidic systems, which is our medical and scientific division. And then we have IMH, which is the group that I'm responsible for here, that really focuses on providing a product to the automotive industry, but we also do some medical and industrial microhydraulics as well, such as construction equipment. Customers for the Lee Company in general, we have aerospace. Every aircraft has a couple thousand parts on it from the Lee Company. We've been on the moon. We are on the moon. We're involved in motorsports, Formula One racing, a lot of different medical customers, from patient care instruments to in vitro diagnostics. And then, of course, automotive and industrial. And this division, IMH, was founded in 1991. We're very high volume. We ship about 70 million parts a year out of this particular division. And we're very heavily automated here, and you need to be automated to be able to provide that kind of product. We run 3 shifts, and we have about 150 people, and our products go in transmissions, fuel systems, suspension systems, cooling systems, especially as the electric vehicle market is coming alive here. And also we do some diesel emissions applications as well. And we hire very good engineers like Eric Zeidler, who can tell a little bit about himself. Go ahead, Eric.
All right, thanks, Paul. My name is Eric Zeidler. I am the lead controls engineer for the IMH division. It's a relatively new position. It was just created about a year ago. I oversee the design, wiring, programming, commissioning, and repair of our automated machinery, as well as doing some combination of all of those things myself. I'm one of 2 in-house controls engineers, plus a handful of controls and visions contractors, and then what we call electronics techs. They mostly do electrical wiring work, but we have called on them to do other things in the past. We are working on training a couple more people in both of those roles. For us, the product engineers design the parts, automation engineers design the machines that make and test them, and the controls group works with both, along with the tool room, manufacturing, and sales to get the machines running and keep them running.
Fantastic. Well, we're thrilled to have both of you joining us today. So, Paul, I know that you have a video that you wanted to share so that the students can see a little bit about, what the IMH division looks like, right? So I'll let you share your screen for that. Oh, Paul, you're muted.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so this is our division here. This building right here was brand new, added in 2019. And as we scroll over here, you're going to see another building that's connected. We moved up here in 2013. This is about 200,000 square feet of manufacturing and very nice facility. You can see it's not like your typical manufacturing place. These are where the 2 buildings connect. These are some automated equipment that we built. We design and build in-house, and Eric does the work to make sure that it's all talking to each other and running properly. We have all types of this equipment throughout the facility, and machine operators setting these up, running them, keeping an eye on the product to make sure that the product is good as it goes into the good bin. These are some other machines that we've purchased here along the way to make certain products. This one waxes pins for us. We have a lot of cleaning and waxing systems here because we need very clean parts for our customers. These are some automated cleaning systems here. This is a water-based one. And we also have an alcohol system that we use. And machine operators would be responsible to run these and do quality checks and set them up and be organized. And these run all 3 shifts. This is an example of an automated machine that we designed and built in-house. All this hardware is made in-house. All the software is done in-house. And this is to hydraulically test some of our components because some of the parts that we sell need to be either tested on air or hydraulically tested. And that's specifically what that particular machine does. It's a short video, but it kind of shows a little bit about us.
Fantastic. So, Paul, I know you mentioned hardware, right? So the actual machines themselves. But Eric, I know you work a little bit on the software end of things, right? Is that some of your responsibilities?
Yes, electrical design and programming.
Fantastic. All right. So what does a typical day look like for both of you? So, I know, Paul, you run the division, right? So why don't we start with you? So what does that look like?
So the day starts with me getting here on time. which is an important thing to do. And then, of course, with 3 shifts, the place really doesn't shut down. So as I'm stepping into the door here, everybody else is already here doing their thing from 3rd shift, and 1st shift is arriving. So basically, I'll come in and check my emails to see if there's any late breaking news I need to be aware of that may have happened overnight. And then, of course, I make the rounds talking to everybody to see what's going on. It's very important is to communicate and be out there with people and listening to what they have to say. And then from there, probably coming back here and looking at my schedule to see what the day is was gonna bring. So typically in this role, meetings can range from personnel planning, financial discussions, new product designs, new machine designs, and also maybe there's a quality issue that has come up either in-house or at a customer that we need to talk about, maybe planning for a customer visit. We actually have GM coming here in a couple of weeks to talk to us about some things. So those things all need to be planned for properly. And then, of course, my most important role here is to be thinking about the future, because need to make sure that we're always one step ahead of everybody else. So that's a typical day, and there's a lot of other little things that happen. But remember that, before I stepped into this role, I was the manufacturing manager. And of course, in that role, things are a little different. I'm more right in the trenches with everybody more often. So we can talk a little bit about that later. So.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Paul. And I just wanted to clarify, right? So GM, General Motors, right? So you said you're looking ahead, right? So is that what you meant by GM? Fantastic. So we did get a question. So Eric, we're going to go to you in just a second, but for either of you, someone did ask. So to run the machines that, you just showed us in the video and you're talking about, do you need an associate's or undergraduate degree for that?
No, you do not. So the interesting thing about automated equipment is if it's designed properly, and it's very important that it is designed properly because it needs to run and not be down. You can design those in such a way where with proper training, you can bring people in with very little experience, and over time, they can be very effective at running the machines. And as a matter of fact, I would say that most of the operators we have here at this division running the automated machines have come here with little manufacturing experience, and most of them don't have an associate's degree. But they're out there right now making very good parts for our customers, and they've learned how to do quality checks, how to measure things, how to hydraulically test or pneumatically test product. They've learned how to use all of the electronic systems that goes along with supporting the machine, how to do maintenance on the machine. And we have tool makers here that train people that may not be that mechanically inclined to learn how to do the things that need to be done on the machine to be effective out there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate that. And it's so important, right, for students listening in, right, that there are different pathways, right, to getting to manufacturing. So appreciate that. So I do have a follow-up question, but we're going to get to background and education in just a minute. So Eric, how about for you? What does a average day look like for you?
How's that? All right. So can you hear me now? I think we muted and unmuted each other at the same time. All right. So my days vary quite a bit. I am still working directly on our current machines. That is what I started out doing. So the first thing that I do usually when I get in is check our work order system, that's actually a system that was designed in-house to keep track of machine issues and production issues. And so I check to make sure that there aren't any issues that came up overnight. I send those out if needed to different employees or contractors. And then usually I go take care of some of them myself. I might spend time designing new machines that are coming in. That's one of the things that I still do more of on the engineering side. I have to manage schedules, order parts, work with contractors and vendors. It really depends on what's going on the floor that day. So it's very it's fluid.
Excellent. And so just a quick question on that. So when you say designing the machines, is that mostly done, on your end via computers, or how do you go about designing the machines?
So it is, I do electrical design, so it's mainly looking at what the machine needs to do. There's another engineer that would do mechanical design. And so I work with them to see what the machine is supposed to do, and then how we can get the signals in place to do it. So it'll be picking out components, figuring out how to connect those components, drawing schematics for the electricians to use to wire the machines up. So that's the design side, and then the programming is mostly done ahead of time. So we get an idea of what we need to do with the machine, and we get most of the programming done, and then we put it all together and see what works and what doesn't, and fix anything that doesn't before we put it through a quality process and then release it to the floor.
Fantastic. And I appreciate that, when you said drawing the schematics, I think I always just think automatically, right, computer, but it's cool, right, that there's still, right, that hands-on component. So thank you so much, Eric. All right.
Sure.
So let's talk about our backgrounds. What inspired you to get involved in manufacturing and advanced technologies, and what was your educational path? So Paul, why don't we start with you, and then Eric, we'll go to you after Paul. Oh, Paul, you're on mute.
All right, can you hear me? All right. Okay, so I'm actually a graduate of Valley Regional High School. So I heard that they might be on this Zoom call. So went to University of Hartford, graduated with an engineering degree. I always wanted to tinker with electronics when I was younger, and that's what made me take the path that I did at University of Hartford, and ended up graduating, and then in 1984 started at a small company where locally here, where I was basically on the manufacturing floor and working with electronics and fixing things and working with engineering, and then just kind of worked my way up from there into basically a quality role. So this is a point that I want to point out to everybody, is that when I was working my way up at my first job there happened to be a position that was posted that I didn't even think I was qualified for, but I put in for it anyways. I interviewed and I got it. And that kind of jump-started things for me. I was able to travel around the world and do some software installations and hardware installations and troubleshoot things, and learned a lot. And that was only because I took the chance and took the risk and presented myself well and got the job. And there was probably other people that were more qualified than me. Then I ended up staying there for 14 years, came to the Lee Company 25 years ago, came here as an engineer at the first year, then worked my way up to manufacturing manager, and now I am the vice president of IMH. So there's you can make things happen for yourself, and don't be afraid to take chances, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Paul. And I do want to mention, we've gotten some great questions in here, and we actually have a lot of them built in. So just bear with us, but we appreciate all the questions. Keep them coming. So Eric, let's hear about your background. So go for it.
All right. Well, I can go pretty far back, like as a little kid, with a room just completely covered in Legos, is really kind of where I got my start in engineering. I've always liked to take things apart, figure out how they work. As I got older, I used to do science fair projects that had to do with building stuff and putting little motors on things. And I worked on those with my grandfather, who was an engineer. I didn't know at the time that he was an electrical engineer. I found out later that we ended up being the same kind of engineer. But I always looked up to him. So it was that definitely influenced it. And then, but what really sealed the deal was I switched schools in 7th grade, and I was lucky enough that my new school had just started participating in the first robotics competition. That's not the first ever robotics competition. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. It's a foundation that it sponsors this competition, and originally it was just actual robots, but they've expanded to younger kids. And so the focus is to have students do as much of the design and build and wiring and programming as possible. And so that experience really solidified it for me that I wanted to be involved in automation of some kind, whatever it was. And so from there, the other thing was companies sponsor those teams. And so in my case, it was actually Lego, not to go back to them, but they sponsored our team, and we got a chance to tour their facility in Enfield a couple of times, and seeing everything work there was just fascinating. And so moving on, when I went to high school, they didn't have a FIRST team, but we ended up finding one so that we could get involved with. And so I got a couple of seasons in there. And then I went on to get a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute up in Troy, New York. There are a lot of great engineering schools in the Northeast. It was important to me to stay kind of close to home. I wanted to get away, but I wanted to be able to get back. So I picked RPI, and then coming out of school, I got hired by a contractor, actually, one of the contractors that did work for IMH. My first day there was actually at the old IMH building. First person I ever met was Paul Zimineski coming in the door. And so I worked with them for about 8 years. I think the experience as a contractor was fantastic. It kind of concentrated the experience. It was a lot of different things in a very short time. One day you'd be at a place like Lee, and another place you'd be, on a factory floor that was like smelting things and crushing them with huge presses. And so lots of different control systems, lots of different controllers. And you kind of had to dive in and figure it out. And then after a while, Lee offered me a job, and I jumped on it. And I'm still here today.
Fantastic. That's quite the journey. And I appreciate, that insight on contracting, right? So students listening in, right? I think that's some interesting insight, right, that they can kind of navigate through, early on in their career. So I think we kind of touched on this, but I did have a question about what kind of training or education that you needed, right? So Paul, you mentioned, right, that you don't need, right, an associate's or an undergraduate, right, to be able to run the machinery. Are there any aspects in the IMH division, though, that might be helpful to have some sort of degree for, whether it's design?
Yes. So I'll kind of talk towards starting on the engineering side of things, because everyone hears the engineer word and they cringe. Oh no, I need to have this or this. So we have electrical engineers like Eric, and then we have mechanical engineers who are the people that actually design the machines. And then we have also mechanical engineers who design the product. So just to kind of tie it together for you, if somebody asked us to make a valve that flowed water at a certain pressure, the product engineer would be responsible to design that valve, working with the mechanical engineer who has to design the machine to produce the valve. Because we're certainly not going to have people out in manufacturing doing those things by hand, especially when you're making 2 million of them a year. So those two engineers have to work together to come up with a design that works for the customer, but a design that can also be manufactured, and in a way where the machine is going to run well, and where we can design a machine where a person can come in and be able to run that machine without having to have a 4-year degree to do so. So that's kind of the role of the different types of engineers here. And then we also have, we have some people here who have industrial engineering degrees who might end up being a quality engineer. And that's somebody that works for our quality department and is kind of a tweener. They're working, with quality related things, certifications, but they're also doing gauge studies, and they're also working with our suppliers on technical issues. And so that's another type of engineer. And then, of course, you have office people that may have business degrees. We have order entry people here. We have managers here that are running different departments that work in the office area. And then we have the people on the manufacturing floor. And those are the people that there could be different levels of people out on the floor there. We have somebody can come in as a machine operator, and then they can work their way up to maybe a senior level machine operator, and then work their way up to maybe running an individual department, and then, or maybe be a shift lead with 3 shifts. And you can do all those things without having a college degree, but it never hurts. And I'm not discouraging that in any way, but I know not everybody has the opportunity to make that happen. So the lead company is a good place to come, because we not only have those type of jobs available, but we also over the past year have kind of established our own lead company university here, where we have in-house training. We have a boot camp that we put people through, and then we have paths that can be taken from that boot camp, maybe to become an inspector or a machinist or a tool maker. And because we realize, not everybody has the means to go to college, and with some training, we can turn you into a very effective employee here.
Excellent. And I think you managed actually to touch on a few questions that we had gotten asked, Paul. So, someone had asked about, does the company move people from the floor up? And I think you just detailed, right, how someone can start right at that kind of entry level position, right, and then work their way up. So
90% of the people that I have on the floor that are in leadership positions started here as a machine operator.
Incredible. All right. And then someone asked, right, do you pay for additional training, right? And so you just said, right, the boot camp, right? Or the lead company college, right? As you put it, right? So that's fantastic, right? So students listening in, right? There's some really great opportunities here. So keep all this information in mind.
Yeah. And we are doing that. We're doing that in conjunction with Goodwin University. So they actually come down here and train with us.
That's unbelievable. That's awesome. All right. So we're going to get to, there was some questions about hiring, and we'll get to that. So we do have a question about that. So as the old adage goes, change is the only constant in life, right? So manufacturing has continually evolved since its inception, but it seems like it's been in hyperdrive really over the last 10, 20 years. What does the current landscape of manufacturing look like? So Paul, we'll start with you. And then Eric, we would love to hear some insight from you as well.
So manufacturers generally are always looking to be more efficient in everything that they're doing, because we need to be able to compete. So to do that, we try to do things faster, more consistently, so we get better quality. And that's where the automation comes in. That's one part of improving your efficiencies and qualities on the floor. Now, of course, that depends on what you're making. I mean, in our case here at IMH, we're making so many parts, you kind of have to have robots and machines to help do that. But you still need people, and you need people to be here to set up the machine, to maintain the machine, to do the quality checks, to keep an eye on the machine. You need people to move product. You need people to organize other people and organize tasks and make sure things get done. There's plenty of opportunity with automation. And of course, you need people like Eric and the mechanical engineers to be able to take an idea and have a blank piece of paper in front of you and end up with a machine that can run 2, 3, 4 million parts for you in a year. So that's one area where you hear people saying, well, yeah, manufacturing is all becoming automated. We're replacing people. We're not replacing people. We're giving opportunity for people to learn more, to make more money, because the more you know, the more you generally can get paid. Other things. Now, one of the other nice things about the generation behind me, at least, maybe two behind me, but you're all very good with computers, and you're very savvy when it comes to that. And when you're talking about a facility like we have here, and I hope some of you can come here to visit, there's not paper flying around everywhere. We have gigantic screens up showing what jobs need to be run. We have probably over 200 computers on the floor where people are going to be inputting information, or maybe sending an email or sending an electronic nonconformance to an engineer. It's not how it used to be, where there's somebody's got a notepad in their drawer that they need to dig out to hand to you on how to run a machine. Everything is electronic. We've designed our own in-house manufacturing control system, and that was done by people in-house. And half of those people came here with very little programming experience, but learned it. So it's a matter of efficiencies, using computers, using automation, and having good leaders out there, because there are some people that just want to come to work and do their job, and there are some people that want to be here and do more, and there's opportunity for people to do that here. And good leaders makes for a very, very good company.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul. And then, Eric, so I'll turn the question over to you. So I know you talked a little bit about your background, robotics, and I think Paul touched on one of the biggest fears, right? That automation, right, is getting rid of jobs. So, so how about your background in robotics and what you do at work?
Sure. So I've been doing this for 15 years now, and I don't think a single employee has lost their job because of automation that I can remember.
You're right.
So in terms of robotics, everything, it's the same as just manufacturing in general. The changes that I've seen is that everything is getting faster, and we need more information about everything. So when we, 15 years ago, we weren't keeping track of information about parts as they ran through machines. We were just running them through the machines. And now we track all that. We put it all in a database, and we can go back and retrieve it. And then the other thing was, everything used to be digital in terms of communication. You'd have a wire that connected a sensor to a controller, and that was it. Then we moved on to serial communication, so we could send actual numbers and even letters back and forth. And that was faster. And then we're on to Ethernet now. So everything is networked, and that has opened up things to be wireless. So we can have a machine over across the plant that can communicate with something else that we, a monitoring system. And so it's all just, it's faster and more information. And in my opinion, the more information you can get about something, the better. You can go back and look at what happened, what should have happened, what didn't happen, and figure out how you can make it better.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a good employee in the industry, in manufacturing. And I think this will go to a couple of questions that we have in the chat. So Paul, I know you wanted us to include this, so why don't we start with you?
Okay. Well, a good employee is somebody that we can depend on, that is going to be here every day doing their best, and is willing to learn and willing to work with others. Those things right there would guarantee you success here at the Lee Company, and continued development in your career. It's not a matter of, I've worked with very, very smart people in my career. They were not able to necessarily communicate or be professional all the time. And that's a very important skill set. You look at Eric, Eric is where he is because he's a rare combination of a very, very talented engineer who can communicate well. He thinks outside the box. He's able to manage people. That's why he is where he is. And other people that were here before him are not. So Those are very important skills to have. And you can work on those without going to college. It's a matter of, think about how you deal with people every day. You know, when you're talking with them, you look at them. When you communicate, you're speaking well and you're writing well. And those things go a long way.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. So Eric, some high praise. So how about you though? So what do you, when you think about your peers, right, your leaders, right, the people that you manage, what makes a good employee?
I honestly, I'm going to echo just about anything that Paul said. It's mostly about your willingness to show up, participate, try new things, and learn. Come up with ideas or don't, but be here and be willing to work and be willing to learn about what you're working on.
Excellent. And then kind of a follow-up to that. So one of the questions we got in the chat was, what's one of the most important things when hiring? So Paul, why don't we start with you?
So can you repeat that question again?
Absolutely. So someone in the chat asked us, so what's the most important thing when you're hiring? So what are the most important things that you consider in a potential employee?
So obviously it depends. So I'll give you an example for somebody in manufacturing, and then I'll let Eric talk the technical side of it. So many times we get people here who are coming here from a place like Dunkin' Donuts, and they want to get into manufacturing. Now, I get a lot of people like that. I get their resume, and basically I'll meet with them, and I can tell right off the bat whether they're going to work out or not. But when you see something on a resume that says, I was at Dunkin' Donuts, I started there, I worked my way up to a shift lead, and I was responsible for inventory, blah, blah, blah. That may not seem like a lot, but it is. And that shows that person took it upon themselves to do the right things to move themselves up the ladder, even with a position in Dunkin' Donuts, which isn't a bad thing. But those are the kind of things I look for. Is somebody, somebody might want to put on their resume that, they take it upon themselves to do some volunteer work outside of what they regularly do. Maybe they're, involved with Boy Scouts, or they're involved with the Lego club, like Eric said. Any of that stuff, it sounds kind of maybe it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And it especially does matter these days because we get all kinds of people coming in here. Sometimes just a few things like that can make a difference between you getting a call back or not. So when you're putting your information down and going to an interview, think about what you're going to say. Think about how you're going to promote yourself. You got one chance to do it, and think about those things that may seem a little ridiculous to you, but maybe they're not. So I tell you how I got this job. I got this job because I played basketball with the previous VP, and that's how he knew me. And we played down at the YMCA here in Westbrook. And the position came open. And I asked him one day, I said, why did you hire me? He said, because you were a good passer. You passed the ball all the time. And little things like that, but that, and that was his answer. So that's about working with people.
I love that. So you were the John Stockton of the YMCA.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I love that though. I love that you really touched on the soft side skill, right? That selling yourself, right? Your brand, right? That you bring forth, right? And so I think a lot of times people think this question, right, from the super technical side of things, and we'll give Eric a chance to talk about that. But you gave so much insight into, right, what someone can bring in. I love that, right? Highlighting the volunteering, right? Those things, right, that make you who you are, right? Tells the company a lot about who you are around others. So. Fantastic. All right. So Eric, a little bit more on the technical side of things.
Okay. So we do look in terms of engineering. We do look for the background there, whether whether you've gone to college for it, whether you've been employed previously as an engineer. But in terms of hiring, I believe it is more about what else you can do to stand out. It's similar with, as I remember them, college applications. Everyone's applying to the college, and they all have a high GPA and a great SAT score. But you drill down past that, and you're looking for what other things they do. What else is there about you that I can tell from a resume or from an interview, especially an interview. The way that you conduct yourself, the way you present yourself, it makes a big difference. As much of a difference as the technical side of it, because if you're applying to a more technical job, you've probably got some technical background. And if you don't, then all you've got is that impression. So that side of it is very important.
Fantastic. And one thing I'll mention too is a lot of times when I talk with people in manufacturing and they're talking right towards high school or college students, I love you, Eric, you especially mentioned kind of that tinkering, right? And I think Paul, you mentioned as well, right, that kind of background of tinkering, right, taking things apart, right? And so I think sometimes from a technical aspect, right, in an interview, if those are kind of the things, right, that you're able to talk to your interview about, right, if that's things that you did in your youth, right, I'm sure, for both of you, you perk up when you hear, right, oh, I tinkered with cars, or, I like to pull things apart, see how they work, right? I think that brings, right, some of that, whether it's super specific technical knowledge, right, it's a know-how, around things that are important, those building blocks. So.
Yes, absolutely. Be prepared to talk about some of those things that you may bring up or that you may have put down on your resume. Be ready to talk about them because you're going to get asked about them, and that is going to show really what you're all about, I guess.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah,
so
you can put a class. I could put down like a coding class on a resume, but that's not really going to mean anything. You need to be able to say, this is what it was and this is what I did.
Absolutely. All right. So I think that actually kind of brings me to a question that someone asked, right? So are there particular skill sets in high school that students can work on now to help give them an advantage? So like clubs or skills or anything. So Eric, why don't we start with you as the most recent out of high school, for us. And then Paul, I'd love to hear your insights as well. Go ahead, Eric.
All right. I like that you call it recent.
Makes me feel old.
I'm going to steer away from the technical side of things again. It's fantastic if your school offers more technical courses, whether it's something involving robotics or something mechanical. I wish that there were more opportunities to do that when I was in high school. But the main things that I think are going to be important are things like time management, communication, and other skills that you might not think about for something scientific or technical. Those things are important, and there are things that you can work on everywhere. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in a robotics class. You can do it anywhere, sports, extracurriculars, work on communicating with people and managing your time so you get all your stuff done and you're not burning yourself out. Those I think are important skills to work on younger.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric. And then Paul, so how about you? So is there anything that high school student could be doing now that you think could help them, future careers in manufacturing?
Well, I think that any computer-related activities that you can do are going to help you, whether you go into the technical field or you go into the manufacturing field. You need to know how to navigate. You need to know you need to know how to use an email, to write an email to your leader or manager. You need to know, we may ask you, you're running a machine, and we may ask you, hey, could you do me a favor? And can you please just write a summary for me of what of what your day was like on this machine. What was the machine down for? What were your struggles? And that's where the opportunity comes in. If you're able to sit down, pull up Word and write a nice little summary and hand it to your leader, guess what? You just put yourself in a really great position to go to the next step. If I'm going to get something back that's got tons of spelling errors and the sentences are all fragmented, and it's, that kind of tells us something too. So, and of course, the communication part of it, lead company is a little different than some other manufacturing places. When you go out there on the floor, even on bad days, you're not going to see people smashing stuff and swearing at each other. I know we all want to have those days, but you can't have those days. And you got to do your best to kind of come in here every day and be consistent. And, whether it's your first day here and you're 22 years old, or it's not your first day and you're 57 years old, we all have similar days of ups and downs, but you got to come here and get the job done and be level-headed and consistent and professional. Because I'll answer, a question that I get sometimes is, if somebody was to tell you something early on in your career, what do you wish you were told? And I wish I was told that make sure that every day, no matter who you interface with, you be professional and you do your best, because you never know who you're going to be working for or working with. And those same people that you had a good professional relationship with, somewhere down the road may open a door for you. And that may be all that it takes to take it to the next level.
I love that. Yeah, right. So networking is so important, right? So sometimes who right, can open those doors, right? Yep. So that's some great advice. So Eric, I know we had it a little bit later in the script, but how about you? So is there anything that you wish someone had told you, sooner in your career or even before you started?
It's going to sound like Paul and I got together and rehearsed this, but I have similar notes. It's that the main thing that I was not necessarily prepared for is that you have to work with everybody. It's a lot easier to stick to your friend groups in school or at home. You can pick and choose who you have to interact with, but at work, everyone's involved. Everyone brings something to the table. And I mean, there are rarely actual problems, but there are definitely people who you'll enjoy working with. And there are as many people that you tolerate working with. I'm lucky enough that we mostly have more of the former than the latter here, but it's a big part of life in a professional setting, is just dealing with people, and you can make it hard on yourself, or you can make it a lot easier on yourself, just by trying to get along. the golden rule.
So Eric, in Eric's case, most of the people that work for him right now are people that worked with him. And can you imagine if along the way, Eric did not have those good professional relationships with those people, how difficult his job would be right now, because those people would be like, oh, great, I got to work for this guy, So, that's not the case. And that's how we got to where he is. And that's why, the people that work for him enjoy working for him.
Yeah, thank you. And, communication is so key, right? It's a fact of life, right? That, we work with people from, all walks of life, all backgrounds, right? And figuring out how to navigate that. And, we live in the social media age, right? And so, being able to communicate well, right, will serve you well. So that's some great advice for students listening in. All right. So, speaking of these students, are there opportunities for these students listening in to seek out internship or entry-level positions? Are there opportunities for them to see? I know you mentioned before, Paul, coming and seeing the lead company.
Yep.
If so, and then just one more thing really quick, Paul, and I'll let you go. Where can they look for these things? So go ahead.
Okay. So I will first say that in 37 years of manufacturing for me, I would say that there's more opportunity now for entry-level people than I have ever seen before. And one of the things is I think that people may not really understand what manufacturing is. And that's why I want to get people here to the Lee Company. So if you saw this building and you saw what we do, you would probably be very interested in coming here. And I'm not here as a commercial to try to drag people here. I'm just telling you that it would be good for people to see what manufacturing can really be like. Yes, there are shops out there that are, that it's oily air and machines that are clunking really loud, and you got to wear, ear protection all day, and it's hot. There's no air conditioning. Yes, those places exist, but there are also places that exist like the Lee Company, and there's a lot of them now because they need to attract people, because we need good people, and a good environment will help attract good people. So obviously, when it comes to looking for jobs, I mean, I just popped on Indeed, which is a pretty popular website to kind of look at opportunities, and I typed in manufacturing, entry-level manufacturing, and all kinds of stuff popped up. And you'll see that there's even people up there. You've probably seen some of the commercials on, if you may not watch the news yet, but on Channel 3 News, there's commercials on there now that are saying, come see us. We have entry-level positions. We will train you. There's a signing bonus. You get this much vacation time. It never ever used to be like this. It used to be like in places you'd show up at a manufacturing place, they stick you in front of a machine, you get your can of Coke, you sit there and you press a button all day. And that is not what it is now. And of course, the Lee Company has a very good website, and there's career opportunities on there. But I encourage the high school kids to get here, and I know that would have to be organized. And bring your parents. I don't care. I'll show you some cool stuff.
And I can attest, right? Paul said that the Lee Company's on the moon, right? They're in Formula One cars.
Yeah.
So there's definitely cool things to see at the Lee Company. So, all right. Let me just see. Eric, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Is there anywhere, like when you're hiring and things, are there anywhere that you put that information out, or is it more word of mouth?
I don't have anything for that. I'm not terribly involved in our advertising for.
With the exception that Eric has networked with people over his career, and if Eric calls them and says, "Hey, there's an opportunity here and a good place to work," they're probably going to believe him because he's had a good relationship with those people.
Absolutely,
sure, yes.
Right.
Networking is definitely important.
Absolutely. All right. Excellent. So, so I have just a couple of random questions. So we'll do that, and then we'll start winding down. But if people listening still have questions, please put them in. So one of the first questions that did come in that we haven't gotten to was Paul. Early on, you mentioned 3 shifts. Could you kind of detail, what the time frames of those shifts are?
Yeah. So first shift is 7 to 3:30. And then second shift gets here at 3 in the afternoon, and they work till 11:30 at night. And we have, of course, a half-hour overlap there, so people can, between shifts, can have a group meeting and talk about what happened from one shift to another. Third shift is 11 at night to 7:30 in the morning. So, and when you work the off shifts here, at least at the Lee Company, you get a 10% premium on your pay because, it's a little different, and it takes certain people to work those shifts, but some people love it. Like third shift, for example, they come in Sunday night, but they're done Friday morning. So some people like that. And of course, there's less people on the off shifts right now. We have about 20 on each of the off shifts, and we have a shift lead on each off shift. And I'm always looking for shift leads, and a shift lead is somebody that has done all those things that I talked about, can communicate, and has learned enough about everything we do here in manufacturing to be able to provide direction to people in the middle of the night. and they're not necessarily running machines, but they're getting their hands dirty as needed to help people out.
Fantastic. All right. And then this question, for either of you, I know you both work in the same division, but if you're able to, you could even speak to the company at large. But someone did ask, do you know what the lead company will be hiring for? So what kinds of positions you might be hiring for in the future?
Sure. I can tell you right now, we are frantically looking for entry-level manufacturing people. We're looking for manufacturing people with some experience. We are looking for automation engineers. Automation engineers are the mechanical engineers who design the machines. We are looking for some office support, some shipping and receiving support. So shipping and receiving is another area where you don't need a lot of experience. You can come in and get trained, and it's a little different, but it's a great opportunity. So they're really looking for a lot of different things. You can hit the Lee Company website to see what they're looking for. And specifically for my division, I'm having a very difficult time finding off-shift people. And remember, off-shift doesn't mean off-shift for your whole career. That means that you do a good job, and based on, what I make a decision on moving people around based on three things, and it's probably the reverse of what you think. The first is best fit. How is that person going to best fit in whatever role I need them in? Then the next is how are they performing? And then third is seniority. So I don't just move people because they've been here for a long time. That's not the right way to do things. You got to reward your performers and the people that show potential and the people that are willing to step up, take chances, and do things.
Fantastic. Eric, anything?
I just saw that there was a question whether qualified machinists are in the facility, and I believe the answer to that is yes, and we are probably looking for those as well.
Yeah, you're right, Eric. Yep. We have, so to tie into that, we not only design our own products, design our own machines, but we build our own machines in-house. So we have all kinds of tool makers. I have 19 tool makers here, from people that can make the most complicated part on a CNC machine or a Bridgeport to actually assembling the machine. Somebody that likes to work in their garage on a vehicle is great for that role of working in the tool room and taking a drawing and assembling the machines. They don't put themselves together on their own. So that's a good point, Eric.
Fantastic. All right. So then another specific question we got is there any welding done in any part of the manufacturing process of products?
Yeah, we don't have enough welders here. We do have a weld shop here at IMH, but remember, this whole company is 14 buildings, 1,000 employees, and they have a maintenance department, and that maintenance department are electricians, welders, plumbers, and they're always looking for those type of people. And there are people in their maintenance department there that have started as an entry-level position. It might be raking leaves or plowing, and have worked their way up to doing much more than that. But yes, here at IMH, we have tool makers that do the welding, and we basically just have small welding machines here to assemble some of the parts together that are required to make the machine on the floor. I don't know the specific name of the machine that we have. It's just a small portable welding machine, but they have many more types of different welding machines. I think they have the MIG and the TIG and all of that over in the maintenance departments.
Fantastic. So, I don't know just because they're kind of part of your department, but someone did ask what welding processes are used. Is that something that either of you are able to speak on, or is that something that they're a little bit more removed?
Did you say quality processes?
So, no, what welding processes are
used? I know that I just pointed out, I think they have they have MIG and TIG welders, and I don't know too much more than that.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So I'm just going through. We have, is there a question about, is there a school or college that you would recommend in order to gain some of the skills in manufacturing that encompass some of the skills you recommended? So Eric, why don't we start with you?
Yeah.
You went to RPI, highly respected school. So what was part, I know you said location was part of it. What else drew you to RPI?
A couple of things. One was I toured most of the schools, and despite Troy, New York, not being the most attractive of settings, the school itself has been was doing a lot of work and has been doing a lot of work since to really improve their own facilities. So I liked the campus, and then they have a couple of highlight classes that they like to bring all their tours past. So they had a couple there that looked really cool to me. There were ones where you automated a little car that drove around a track and things like that. So that drew me to it. But it doesn't have to be that kind of university. State schools all have fantastic engineering programs. UConn, UMass, URI, they've all provided engineers to this company, and I think this division even,
Yeah.
who are great.
Central.
Yep, Central Connecticut has a good program. So you don't have to look for, a university that has technical or polytechnic in its name to get a good engineering program.
I will also say that for somebody that wants to do something out of high school, but do it in a reasonable amount of time for a reasonable amount of money, that Goodwin University offers some very good manufacturing programs there. They're maybe 9 months. And also I'm involved with Quinebaug Valley Community College. That's up in Danielson. And they also have, and as well as Middlesex. I mean, Middlesex, all of these places have, abbreviated manufacturing programs. It may take you 9 months or 11 months to get through, but if you show up at the Lee Company with one of those, you are way ahead of most people that are showing up at the Lee Company. And I would, highly encourage, if you don't want to come right to work out of high school and you don't have the means to go to a 4-year school, please look into those things, because that goes a long way in getting yourself, especially these days, in manufacturing.
Fantastic. So I'm going to get into one last specific question to Lee, and then I think we have a couple of just kind of more high school focused questions, so that we'll kind of close out on. So there was a question about just a little more details on the boot camp and path, training pathways offered. So Paul, you want to speak a little bit more on what kinds of training, someone that worked at the Lee Company might be able to get?
So I'll give you an example of boot camp training. In 8 weeks, you're going to get an overview of our quality systems here, basically going over shop math fundamentals on basically how to look at drawings and figure out how to figure out things by looking at a drawing. Units of measurement, introduction to blueprint reading, basics of metrology, theory and practice. So learning how to measure things, how to do gauge, what a gauge study is, and those kind of activities. Basics of measurements, basics of tolerances, what tolerances mean on drawings. What are the calibration fundamentals? NIMS core skills, introduction to geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. So that's like, those are what we put down as 8 weeks boot camp, just to give you a little introduction to some of the things you might run into when you're starting here working at the Lee Company. And we have people coming here with 0 experience, going through this boot camp, coming out of it doing well on the final assessment, and have all good things to say about the content. And then we can also move from there, how to be an inspector, how to learn how to cut metal on machines, how to run a CNC, how to run a lathe, how to run a Swiss machine.
Fantastic. All right. So we have an important question. So, we have to acknowledge that we have 3 white guys on the screen. So what is the Lee Company doing about what is it doing to address creating greater diversity in manufacturing?
Well, I think I'm not trying to punt on this one, but that was a question for the HR group. All I can tell you is that we have all types of people working here in all different roles. And that's what I can say right now.
Okay, absolutely. All right. And so obviously, as we know, we have very diverse, people here in state, but a lot of times representation is very white. So I'm glad, at least Lee Company is looking at, right,
Yep.
how to address that, because it is a great issue for us to be tackling. So thank you for that question. All right. So we have just the last couple. Does Lee Company take high school interns? And then I'll tie that into, is there a way to contact? So, whether it's about internship or coming to see the site, how does anyone get in contact with Lee Company?
Well, I'll say with the interns, so we don't do anything in terms of taking high school students here and letting them spend some time actually doing work here. We do take high school students and take them through and show them what a manufacturing place is, what the Lee Company is. We do internships with college students who maybe in the summertime, we typically have 2 or 3 engineers here who are working through their degrees, and will work here for the summer and will work on small projects independently and help us out when we need another set of hands to do that kind of work. But I think that it would be, you would get just as much of taking a 2-hour walkthrough here at the Lee Company than you would spending a day sitting down doing the work, because seeing the environment, seeing what people are doing, I could explain what people do, and that would give you a flavor in terms of is this something that you want to get into?
Awesome.
And of course, and of course, our HR, for anybody that's interested in, you can contact me directly here, and call the front desk and ask for Paul Zemeneski. You can call our HR group, and they will direct you and they'll answer questions for you. But I think that there's, and I think it's important, I keep saying this to people, I think it's important to get some of the parents here from the high school students, so they understand that this isn't a sweatshop. This is a really nice place to work. And there are other places like this too, in this area.
Excellent. And then for contact information, by website, by the best way to
Absolutely. Yep. For in terms of careers, you go to Lee Company, click on the careers button. Everything is there in terms of what they're looking for jobs. But if you wanted to contact them to find out more about coming here for a visit, I think you can contact me. My extension here is 4255. And the main number is 860-399-6281. Just ask for Paul Z and they'll get you over here.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. And then Eric, I'm gonna actually ask this question to you, and then Paul, you're welcome if you have any follow-up to it. But someone did ask, what's the best way to keep a job, and how is this different from school? So how is working, different from school?
All right, Eric, I'll take this one, I guess. So this is all about good habits. So if you are I wasn't an A student in school. I think I was barely a B student. But I was there every day, most of the days. I really didn't miss a lot of time. I always showed up and I tried my best. The people those kind of habits carry over into your professional career. And most people that come to the Lee Company, I'll speak at least for IMH, most people that come to the Lee Company and don't work out here are because they're having a very difficult time on a regular basis getting along with other people. And they have their moments of unprofessionalism, which can not be tolerated on a frequent basis. And they're not showing up for work on time. And it's, in my opinion, that's the easiest part of somebody's job, but it seems to me like it's the hardest part of people's jobs. And those are the good habits from high school that you want to carry over. Yeah, you're going to call in sick every now and then. Of course you are. And you're going to take your vacations. That's cool. But don't stumble in here at 10 after 7 in the morning and expect to get away with it 3 times in a row, because you're going to end up getting a written warning and not be here anymore. And that's only fair because of the rest of the people. If the rest of the people see that that's being tolerated, you're going to end up with chaos and in the facility, because everyone will just come and go when they want. So it's those basic things, you know, and the professionalism, the dependability, all those things we talked about in the first 5 minutes. You know, those are things that you can carry over from your high school career into working at the Lee Company.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to close out today's discussion. So aside from the obvious that everyone has bills to pay, what do you love most about your job? So Eric, I know we've heard a lot from Paul the last few minutes. So why don't we start with you? So what's your favorite thing about your job?
I like to learn new things. I like to solve problems, and I like to make things work. It's rewarding to look at a machine and know that I made it run, or more recently, to see an employee succeed and know that I helped them do that. At this point, sometimes I take a second and I look around the manufacturing facility that we have here, and I'm like, I've affected everything here, and it's it's hard to put into words sometimes that you know, looking back at everything that has changed and everything that has you know, grown, and knowing that I had some, you know, small part in it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. And Paul, what's your favorite thing?
Working with the people and helping people find their niche. Somebody might come here and be, you know, very good at, you know, at measuring parts, but maybe is not a great machine operator, but is a good employee. And we help them find their way to the quality department, maybe at incoming inspection, and they become an excellent inspector. And you got to be willing to look past, you know, those things and do your best to develop people and find the best place for them. It just creates harmony in the whole building.
Fantastic. All right, so our time here has come to a close. We truly appreciate you all joining us for today's panel discussion. So for our 2 panelists, any final piece of career advice? I know you've given a lot over the last hour plus, but you know, what's the one biggest takeaway that you would like the students listening in? So Paul, why don't we start with you, and then Eric, I'll go to you.
Be confident in what you're doing and take chances. You're never going to get anywhere if you don't take those chances.
Fantastic. And Eric?
Ask questions, take notes, keep moving forward. Everything's going to get better.
I agree. All right. So thanks so much to both of you for taking the time and energy to share your knowledge and experience with everyone listening in. A big thank you to the Lee Company for letting you both join us this morning and take the time off from work to be here. The Middlesex Chamber of Commerce and Westbrook High School for the partnership, and to all the students and educators listening in. We wish you all the best of luck during the rest of the school year. And I know we've gotten some fantastic feedback in the chat. So thanks, guys. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.